part by Inked Playmats at inkedplaymats.com, your place for custom-made playmats. Design your own or shop from other featured designers. Use promo code KLOTZ to save 10% on your order. Inked Playmats, your game, your style. To do on their website, and come join us for a fun-friendly F&M environment. Everybody, and welcome to another Deck Tech. Today we have Greg, and he's going to be showing us his blue-black Pike list. Say hi, Greg.
Hey guys.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your deck?
Sure. This deck was basically inspired by the white-blue Pike decks that got pretty popular at the Star City tournament that was in Atlanta. Actually, one of the guys from our shop, Tyler Wynn, top-8'd with a white-blue Pike version, and another guy from our shop went 7-0 starting out down there. So I knew the list was strong. I had a lot of game in the current meta, but I didn't want to play exactly what everybody else was playing, so I wanted to change it up a little bit. So I tried splashing black in there instead of the white. The basic differences you see are white gets to use Moorland Haunt for a long game and has Geist of St. Traff, which are a couple really big pieces. The replacements that I made were in the 3 spot for Geist, Liliana the Veil, and conveniently she's also a way to kill the hexproof creature, so that's pretty good. And for the long game, I don't have Moorland Haunt, but I do have access to Reassembling Skeleton, which is kind of a funny card. It's usually like a junk uncommon that ends up in a box somewhere. But the ability to bring it back at end of turn is really useful when you're playing counter spells like Mana Leak. So you can hold mana up with this in your graveyard and then bring it back into turn, untap, and then throw down a weapon and go to town. The deck's really aggressive. It comes out of the gate really fast. There are, let's see, 8 one-cost spells, either Ponder or Delver, and actually those two go together. That's kind of really important. If you're going to play Delver, you're going to want Ponder because Ponder allows you to set up your library, so you're going to flip Delver a lot more often. The other thing about Delver is he requires you to play a lot of instants and sorceries, so we've actually got a huge array of those cards over here. Almost half the deck will flip Delver. And that also works really well with the namesake artifact in the deck, Runechanter's Pike. It gives +X+0 for instants and sorceries in the graveyard, and with, what is this, about 20 of them that are pretty cheap, so really in one turn it's not unusual for you to be able to throw 4 or 5 in the graveyard in the same turn, especially if you're using Forbidden Alchemy. That's another card that you get when you bring black in, the ability to flash that back, so it makes a little more sense to play. But really, if you alchemy, you maybe in the same turn could then ponder and then probe and maybe end up with like 5 different instants or sorceries in the yard, which is going to throw your Pike creature through the roof. And with Invisible Stalker, that's a pretty good threat to throw on a Pike. There's only 14 creatures in the deck, but like I said, the Reassembling Skeletons can come back and keep coming late in the game, which is nice. And Snapcaster Mage obviously has got a lot of tools. This is a card I really wanted to play, the main reason I built the deck. I just acquired my 4th last week, so I wanted to try and make something work with him. And this is what I came up with. But it allows you to kind of go a little bit lighter on things. You've got only 4 counter spells, but technically you've got access to 8, and only 3 kill spells, but technically access to 7. Vapor Snag is another interesting card in this deck. It's really popular right now, 1-mana removal spell. And actually it's kind of card disadvantage, because you're spending a card to just delay their turn, rather than actually get rid of something they have. But when the main goal of the deck is to get threats down, make them really big, and then swing for lethal fast, it allows you to clear the way without committing a lot of mana to it. And they lose a life, which a lot of times becomes relevant and gets pretty close. Another card I really like in here is Ultra's Reap. And this is a card that, it's funny, the finals against Wolf Run Ramp last week, I played and the guy's like, can I read that card? I have no idea what it does. But it sacrifice a creature and draw 2 cards. And that's not a whole lot of card advantage unless you're sacrificing Reassembling Skeleton. And when this guy's going to the yard for Ultra's Reap, you're basically paying 2 mana to draw 2 cards and then get your creature back at end of turn, which is really good. So Skeleton with Ultra's Reap is a great combination. I always like to build decks that are a little bit off the map. Obviously you're going to be inspired by the decks that are the best because you want to win tournaments. But when I'm building things that are kind of off the wall, what I want are the maximum amounts of synergy possible. I want all my cards to interact really well with each other. That way, no matter when you draw a card, you're not like, oh, I really wish this was something else. All these instants and sorceries work well with Delver and with Snapcaster Mage, and with Runechanter's Pike. And Liliana works really well with Skeleton, and with any of these other cards you want to discard to make Pike better. Also with Snapcaster Mage. Altar's Reap works really well with a lot of these creatures that, if they're not doing anything useful for you, if they've got blockers down, you're not going to attack with Snapcaster Mage. Much rather draw 2 cards and get rid of them.
I think it pretty much covers the deck, unless there's any other specific thing you want to say about the main deck.
No, mana base is simple. 20 lands. I've seen 19 and I've seen 21, but I think 20 is a good number. It's really well balanced, 8 dual lands and then 6 and 6.
Now, what about your sideboard? Talk about what you got in your sideboard.
Sure. Sideboard.
Maybe some of your strategy against the humans matches. How you feel about that match?
Actually, humans is a match I haven't played. I have a friend who's running that deck right now, so we'll probably test it pretty soon. But when I first made this deck, obviously aggro was really big. Actually, the white-blue version of this was really popular. So the first version of the sideboard I had ran 4 extra lands, so I could kind of morph into a more controlling deck rather than so aggressive. It was 2 Inkmouth Nexus and 2 Ghost Quarter. And then I played 2 or 3 Curse of Death's Hold, which is a ridiculous card against aggro right now. That's an enchantment for 5 mana that gives all your opponent's creatures -1/-1.
So let's talk about the sideboard, and you go through and tell me what you would bring in each card for, what you'd use them for.
Disperse is really good actually in that same humans matchup because their main removal spell is going to be Oblivion Ring. And if they O-ring, usually they're going to hit your equipment since your creatures are recurable. So if they O-ring your equipment, at end of turn you can disperse their O-ring and they can't recast it, and then you're going to be able to equip and swing right after that. Just a really, really versatile card. Probably comes in a lot of matchups. Anything that's playing big creatures or big planeswalkers, Disperse will be good. Spellskite I think is probably one of the best sideboard cards against Wolf Run Ramp. Just being able to redirect whatever they're trying to do with their Wolf Run to your Spellskite. Also really good at protecting your Delvers. If you're playing another speed matchup against Vapor Snag, it's a good one to keep your creatures able to attack. Just really versatile. Flashfreeze obviously really good against Wolf Run Ramp. Pretty good against the Grixis decks out there too. Anything that's playing red removal or black, or red removal. Pretty good card. Negate. Actually, Negate came in because I was a little bit worried about Nihil Spellbomb. That card is kind of a house against us. 1-cost artifact that empties the graveyard. Obviously ruins the synergies with Snapcaster Mage and ruins Pike pretty well. So that might actually have to go up, not sure. Gruesome Encore is another one that people usually don't know about. If you watch the videos I played in the finals this past week, this is the card I should have been able to use to win in Game 2. It's for 3 mana sorcery, but you pull a creature out of your opponent's graveyard and it gains haste and then it gets exiled. Obviously really, really good against any deck that's playing a bunch of bombs, like Wolf Run Ramp plays a bunch of Titans and Wormcoil Engine. And also really good against Solar Flare or anything that's going to try and reanimate. They throw it in the yard and you get to punch them in the face with it and then exile so they can't recur. Mental Misstep I think is one of the best cards in the format right now. So many really quick decks playing 1-drop creatures, whether it be red or blue or white. Really, Champion of the Parish is a big one too. So Mental Misstep actually probably should be more of that card in here. That's really good. Gut Shot, same thing. Just a lot of 1-toughness creatures out there that are wreaking havoc. Actually, have somebody telling me I need to take out Liliana the Veil main deck and play Gut Shots in there, but not sold on that yet. I like Liliana a lot. Tribute to Hunger hits those hexproof creatures that are kind of a pain. Also, a little bit of life gain can be pretty relevant. Red deck wins is kind of a crazy race every time, and if they get shrined down, you can be in trouble. Again, that's part of what Disperse is in here for. And Steel Sabotage, again, that helps a lot with any matchup that's running artifacts, especially red deck wins. They get that shrine built up, you just wait for them to tap down a little bit, and you can throw it back in their hand. Being able to counter Nihil Spellbomb, again, very big. So that's where it's at right now. Always a work in progress, though.
Alright, well thanks for showing us through the deck. You can check the annotations at the end to find Greg playing his deck in the finals. And I will put the deck list in the description. Thanks again.
Thanks, Kevin.